Captain Lisa Matthews stood at the bridge of the U.S. Prometheus, her eyes fixed on the massive viewscreen before her. The ship's gentle hum was interrupted by an urgent beeping from the communications console. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," said Officer Ben Wilson, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. "It's not like anything I've ever seen before." Lisa straightened her uniform and walked closer to his station. "Put it through." The bridge speakers crackled with strange sounds before translating into clear English. "This is the diplomatic vessel Starweaver of the Centaurian Alliance. We require immediate assistance." Lisa's heart raced. After years of searching for alien life, first contact was happening during her command. "Send them our coordinates and prepare for rescue operations." The Starweaver appeared from nowhere, its sleek silver hull shimmering against the backdrop of stars. It was beautiful, at least 3 times larger than the Prometheus, with curves and patterns that seemed to defy physics. But something felt wrong. "Ma'am," called out Security Chief Jack Porter, "their ship shows no signs of damage." "And their power readings?" He paused, double-checking his instruments. "They're off the charts." Before Lisa could respond, a bright light filled the bridge. When it faded, 3 tall figures stood before them. Their skin was pale blue, and they wore flowing robes covered in shifting symbols. The tallest alien stepped forward. "I am Zextar, representative of the Galactic Council." His voice carried an artificial tone, likely from a translation device. "We apologize for the deception, but we needed to evaluate your response to a distress call." Lisa kept her voice steady despite her rising anger. "You tested us?" "Yes. One of many tests your species has failed." Zextar's expression hardened. "Humanity has been under observation for centuries. Your development has been concerning." The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "We have watched your wars, your pollution, your endless conflicts," Zextar continued. "Your species is too aggressive, too unpredictable. The Council has decided Earth must be placed under protective quarantine." "Quarantine?" Lisa stepped forward, her hands clenched into fists. "You have no right." "We have every right," Zextar interrupted. "Your species is a danger to galactic peace. Even now, your first instinct was to send a warship to answer a distress call." "The Prometheus is an exploration vessel," Lisa argued. "We're equipped for defense, yes, but our mission is peaceful." Zextar gestured around the bridge. "We see your weapons, your military protocols. Even your helping others has an edge of violence to it." "No, Captain Matthews. The Council's decision is final." One of the other aliens handed Zextar a small device. "This message is being delivered to all major Earth governments simultaneously. You have 48 hours to submit to Council authority. After that, we will establish the quarantine by force if necessary." "And if we refuse?" Lisa asked, though she already knew the answer. "Then you will learn why the Council has maintained peace for 10,000 years. Zextar's eyes narrowed. "We do not wish to harm your people, but we will do what is necessary." Before Lisa could respond, the aliens vanished in another flash of light. The Starweaver disappeared moments later, leaving no trace it had ever been there. Lisa turned to her communications officer. "Get me Earth Command. Now." "Already on it, Captain," Ben replied, his voice shaky. While waiting for the connection, Lisa looked at her crew. She saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. Humans had never responded well to threats. "Message from Earth Command, Captain," Ben announced. "Admiral Hayes is calling an emergency meeting of all fleet commanders. They're saying we've received similar reports from 50 other locations around Earth." Lisa nodded grimly. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. And bring all weapons systems online." As the Prometheus turned toward home, Lisa couldn't help but think about Zextar's words. The Council thought humans were too aggressive, too warlike. Perhaps they were right, but they had made one serious mistake. They had threatened Earth. And if there was one thing humans did well, it was standing together against those who tried to bully them into submission. The real test was about to begin. Admiral Robert Hayes stood in Earth's central command bunker, looking at dozens of screens showing military leaders from around the world. The room was silent except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional beep of incoming messages. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice firm, "we have 42 hours left before the Council's deadline. I need options." Intelligence Officer David Clark rushed into the room, holding a tablet. His usually neat uniform was wrinkled, suggesting he hadn't slept in days. "Sir, you need to see this," David said, connecting his tablet to the main display. "We found these files in a deep archive. They were classified 70 years ago." The screen filled with black and white photos and old reports. They showed crashed ships, strange symbols, and beings that looked just like the Council representatives. "They've been here before," David explained, flipping through the files. "Not just watching us. They've been testing us, probing our defenses, studying our reactions to threats." Robert's face darkened. "So this quarantine excuse is just that. An excuse?" "Yes, sir. Look at this." David pulled up another file. Every time humanity made a major technological breakthrough, there was a mysterious accident that set us back. The Chicago lab fire of 2089, the Mars colony disaster, the Singapore AI incident, all of them were Council operations. The room erupted in angry mutters. On the screens, military leaders from different nations spoke rapidly in their languages, their translators struggling to keep up. Captain Lisa Matthews' voice cut through the chaos. Her face appeared on the main screen, transmitted from the Prometheus as it raced back to Earth. "Admiral, we've detected Council ships moving into position around Earth. At least 30 vessels, all bigger than anything we have." Robert grabbed the edge of his desk. "How long until the Prometheus reaches Earth?" 6 hours, sir." But Lisa hesitated. "We've been working with Dr. Emily Foster. She might have found something." The screen split to show Dr. Foster in her lab aboard the Prometheus. Her dark hair was tied back messily, and empty coffee cups littered her workspace. "They're shields," Emily said, pointing to complex diagrams. "They're not as advanced as they want us to think. They use a predictable frequency pattern. If we can match it and reverse it, we could punch right through," Lisa finished. Robert nodded slowly. "But our weapons might not be strong enough to do real damage, even without their shields." "That's where I come in," said a new voice. Chief Engineer Stephen Cooper stepped into view beside Dr. Foster. "Remember Project Thunderbolt? The one they said was too dangerous to test." Robert's eyes widened. Project Thunderbolt was a revolutionary weapons system that combined traditional firearms with experimental energy technology. It had been shelved because no ship could handle its power demands. "The Prometheus can handle it," Stephen said, answering the unasked question. "We've been making modifications since we left Council space. With Dr. Foster's shield frequency data, we might have a fighting chance." Robert looked around the room, then at the screens showing leaders from around the world. They were all watching, waiting for his decision. "How many ships can we get ready in time?" he asked. 8 carriers, 15 destroyers, and about 30 smaller craft," someone answered, "plus whatever other nations can provide." Robert straightened his uniform. "Ladies and gentlemen, I won't lie to you. We're outnumbered and outgunned. The Council has technology we can barely understand. But they made 3 big mistakes." He held up one finger. "They threatened our home." A second finger. "They underestimated our ability to work together." A third finger. "And they gave us time to prepare." The room filled with determined nods and murmurs of agreement. "Captain Matthews, get the Prometheus ready. Dr. Foster, send your shield data to all Earth ships. Mr. Cooper, I'm authorizing full implementation of Project Thunderbolt." Robert's voice carried across all channels. "Everyone else, battle stations, we have 40 hours to prepare for the fight of our lives." As the screens went dark and people rushed to their duties, David Clark stepped closer to Robert. "Sir, do you think we have a chance?" Robert watched the global defense grid coming online, showing hundreds of ships moving into position around Earth. "The Council thinks they're coming to put us in a cage," he said quietly. "Instead, they're about to learn why you don't back humans into a corner." Above them, the first stars were becoming visible in the evening sky. Soon, those same stars would witness humanity's first interstellar war. And humanity had no intention of losing. The engine room of the U.S. Prometheus buzzed with activity as Chief Engineer Stephen Cooper worked on the massive cylinder in the center of the room. Sparks flew from his welding tool as he connected the last power cables. Careful with those connections, he called out to his team. "One wrong move and this whole thing could blow up in our faces." Project Thunderbolt wasn't just a weapon. It was the most powerful device humans had ever built. The cylinder glowed with a soft blue light, pulsing like a heartbeat. Dr. Emily Foster walked in, carrying her tablet. "How's it going, Steve?" "Almost done." He wiped sweat from his forehead. "But I still don't know if the ship can handle this much power. We're basically putting a small sun in our engine room." Emily showed him her latest calculations. "The shield frequency modulators are ready. Once we combine them with Thunderbolt's energy output, we'll have one shot at this," Stephen finished. "One very big shot." Above them, on the bridge, Captain Lisa Matthews received urgent news from Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez, her tactical officer. "Captain," Maria's eyes were wide with excitement. "I found something in their targeting systems. The Council ships, they always aim for the center of their targets." "And?" Lisa asked. "And they don't adjust well to quick changes. Their computers are advanced, but they're too perfect, too logical. They don't expect random movements." Lisa smiled. This was exactly what they needed. Another advantage, no matter how small. Her comm system beeped. "Captain," said Admiral Hayes' voice, "the Council ships are moving. They're forming a blockade around Earth. Time until their deadline." Lisa asked. 3 hours. How's Thunderbolt coming along?" Lisa looked at her engineering station's readouts. "Cooper says it's almost ready. But sir, once we turn it on, we can't turn it off. The power buildup will either fire through our main guns or tear the ship apart. Then we better make it count." The Admiral's voice was grim. "All Earth ships are in position. We're as ready as we'll ever be." In the engine room, Stephen attached the final power coupling. The cylinder's blue glow turned bright white, and the ship's lights flickered. "Power levels at maximum," he shouted into his comm. "Thunderbolt is online." The whole ship hummed with energy. On every deck, crew members could feel the vibration in their bones. "Engineering to bridge," Stephen called. "We've got full power, but the containment field is barely holding. Whatever we're going to do, we need to do it fast." Captain Matthews looked at her crew. They were scared. Anyone would be. But they were ready. "All hands, battle stations," she ordered. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare to implement your evasive maneuvers. Dr. Foster, start cycling through those shield frequencies." The Prometheus moved forward, leading Earth's fleet. On the main screen, they could see the Council ships, huge, elegant vessels that made Earth's best ships look like toys. "They're hailing us," Ben Wilson reported from communications. "On screen," Lisa ordered. Zextar's face appeared. He looked surprised to see Earth's ships in formation. "This is foolish," he said. "Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Submit now, and we will be merciful." "We have a counteroffer," Lisa replied calmly. "Leave our solar system, and we'll let you go in peace." Zextar actually laughed. "You cannot be serious. Our technology is centuries ahead of yours." "Maybe," Lisa agreed. "But you forgot something important about humans." "And what is that?" "We don't like bullies." Lisa cut the transmission. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, begin evasive pattern. Dr. Foster, find me a hole in their shields. Mr. Cooper, get ready to give them everything Thunderbolt has." The Prometheus surged forward, moving in a way no Council ship expected. Behind it, Earth's fleet followed, spreading out in an attack pattern. In the engine room, Stephen watched the power levels climb higher and higher. The containment field was starting to crack. They had minutes, maybe less. But as he looked at the straining equipment and the glowing heart of Project Thunderbolt, he smiled. The Council thought they knew everything about humanity. They thought they could predict every move. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The space around Earth lit up as the Council's ships opened fire. Bright beams of energy streaked across the darkness, aiming for the human fleet. Evasive maneuvers, Captain Lisa Matthews shouted. The Prometheus rolled and twisted, moving in the random patterns Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez had designed. Around them, other Earth ships did the same. "They're missing," Maria called out excitedly. "The random movements are working. Their targeting computers can't keep up." In the engine room, Stephen Cooper watched the power readings climb higher. Project Thunderbolt's containment field sparked and crackled. "Bridge, we've got 10 minutes before this thing blows. Make them count." Dr. Emily Foster's fingers flew across her console. Shield frequencies isolated, starting to cycle through them now. The first wave of Council ships moved closer, their weapons blazing. Some Earth ships weren't fast enough to dodge. 3 destroyers exploded in bright flashes. "Return fire." Admiral Hayes commanded over the fleet channel. "All ships, concentrate on the lead vessel." Hundreds of missiles and energy beams shot toward the largest Council ship. Its shields flickered with a rainbow of colors, absorbing every hit. "Keep firing," Lisa ordered. "Dr. Foster needs to see how their shields react." The Prometheus shook as a glancing hit struck its side. Alarms blared through the ship. "Hull damage on Deck 4, Ben Wilson reported. "Shields holding at 60%. Emily's voice cut through the chaos. "Got it. Their shield frequency is locked. Sending data to the fleet now." Lisa leaned forward in her chair. "All Earth ships, adjust your weapons to the new frequency. Fire on my mark." The Council ships pressed their attack, confident in their superior technology. They moved in a perfect formation, their weapons filling space with deadly energy. "They still think we're primitive," Lisa said. "Let's show them how wrong they are. All ships, fire." This time, when Earth's weapons struck the Council ships, their shields didn't stop them. Explosions bloomed across their perfectly white hulls. "Direct hits," Maria shouted. "Their shields are down." On the Council's command ship, Zextar watched in shock as his fleet took damage for the first time. "Impossible," he whispered. "Their weapons are too simple." The Prometheus led the charge, diving straight toward the largest Council ship. Lisa's voice was steady as she gave orders. "Mr. Cooper, how's Thunderbolt?" "5 minutes, Captain." Stephen's voice was strained. "The containment field is failing faster than expected." Around them, the battle rage. Earth ships, though smaller and less advanced, darted between the Council vessels like angry bees. Their weapons, now tuned to the right frequency, caused real damage. But the Council ships were still powerful. 2 more Earth destroyers exploded. A carrier broke in half, its crew escaping in pods. "We're losing too many ships," Admiral Hayes said over the command channel. "Captain Matthews, if you're going to use that super weapon of yours, now would be good." Lisa looked at her tactical display. The Council's formation was still too spread out. "We need them closer together." "Lieutenant Rodriguez, send Battle Plan Omega to all ships." Maria nodded, understanding the plan. "Message sent, Captain." The Earth fleet suddenly changed tactics. Instead of attacking, they began to retreat, drawing the Council ships after them. "They're falling for it," Lisa said quietly. "They think we're running." The Council fleet, eager to finish the battle, grouped together for a final attack. Their ships formed a tight wedge, weapons charging for a massive strike. "Cooper to bridge." Stephen's voice was urgent. 2 minutes until containment failure. "Target locked on the center of their formation," Maria reported. "Dr. Foster, divert all power to forward shields. Lisa ordered. "This is going to be close." The Prometheus turned to face the entire Council fleet. Its hull glowed with the barely contained energy of Project Thunderbolt. "All Earth ships, clear the area," Lisa commanded. "This is Prometheus. We'll take it from here." In the engine room, Stephen watched as the containment field began to crack. Blue-white energy leaked from the cylinder, filling the room with blinding light. 30 seconds. On the bridge, Lisa gripped her chair's armrests. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, take us right into the middle of their formation. Full speed." The Prometheus surged forward, straight toward 30 Council ships. Behind them, the Earth fleet watched and waited. The moment of truth had arrived. 10 seconds to containment failure. Stephen Cooper's voice echoed through the Prometheus's speakers. The ship's hull groaned as it charged straight toward the Council fleet. In the engine room, Project Thunderbolt's cylinder was now a column of pure light. The metal floor around it had started to melt. "All hands, brace for impact," Captain Lisa Matthews commanded. She watched as the massive Council ships grew larger on her view screen. Zextar's face appeared on the command screen. "What are you doing? Your ship will be destroyed." Lisa allowed herself a small smile. "Maybe, but we're taking you with us. Now, Mr. Cooper." The containment field around Project Thunderbolt finally broke. Energy flooded through the Prometheus's power systems, turning the ship into a blazing star. "All power to the main gun," Stephen shouted over the roar of energy. "Firing now." A beam of blue-white light burst from the Prometheus's front cannon. It was wider than the ship itself, so bright that the crews of other ships had to look away. The beam struck the center of the Council formation. The Council's shields, designed to stop normal weapons, might as well have been paper. The first ship it hit simply vanished in a flash of light. The beam continued through it, striking 3 more ships behind it. "Direct hits," Maria Rodriguez called out, her voice filled with joy. 4 Council ships destroyed. But the Prometheus wasn't finished. The energy from Project Thunderbolt had nowhere else to go. It kept pouring out of the main gun in waves. "Secondary explosion in 5 seconds," Stephen warned. "The power's feeding back through our systems." Lisa grabbed her comm. "All Earth ships, attack now. Hit them while they're confused." The Earth fleet surged forward. The Council ships, stunned by the loss of 4 of their largest vessels, were slow to react. Dr. Emily Foster's voice cut through the chaos. "Captain, the energy feedback. I can use it, redirecting power to our shield emitters." The Prometheus's shield suddenly expanded, creating a bubble of crackling energy. As Council ships fired at it, their energy weapons were caught in the bubble and sent back at them. Their own weapons, Lisa realized, were using their attacks against them. More Council ships exploded as their own fire was reflected back. The perfect formation broke apart as ships tried to escape the destruction. In the Council command ship, Zextar watched in horror. "This is impossible. They're savages. They couldn't have this technology." "Sir," one of his officers called out, "the human ships, they're all attacking differently. We can't predict their movements." Lieutenant Rodriguez's random attack patterns were working perfectly. Each Earth ship moved in its own way, confusing the Council's computers. "The Council fleet is breaking formation," Maria reported. "They're trying to retreat." On the Prometheus, systems were failing as Project Thunderbolt's energy burned through the circuits. Smoke filled several decks, and emergency crews rushed to contain fires. "Hull temperature critical," Ben Wilson reported. "We can't take much more of this." Lisa looked at her damaged, but still fighting ship. "Mr. Cooper, can you shut it down?" "Negative, Captain." Stephen's voice was barely audible over the sound of exploding equipment. "But I can redirect the last of the energy. One final shot." "Do it," Lisa commanded. "All Earth ships, clear a path. Final attack run." The Prometheus turned toward the largest group of remaining Council ships. Its hull was glowing red-hot, panels peeling away from the intense heat. "This is for Earth," Lisa shouted as Stephen released the last of Project Thunderbolt's power. The final blast was smaller than the first, but just as deadly. It cut through 3 more council ships before the energy finally died. As the light faded, everyone could see the results. 11 council ships destroyed, many more damaged. The rest were retreating, their perfect formation shattered. The Prometheus drifted, its engines dead, its hull scared and burning. But through the bridge's cracked view screen, Lisa could see Earth's fleet pressing the attack, chasing the running council ships. "Damage report?" she asked quietly. "Bad," Stephen replied from engineering. "But we're alive." "And Captain, it worked. It actually worked." Lisa looked at her brave crew, then at the retreating council fleet. "Send word to Admiral Hayes. Tell him the impossible just happened. Humanity didn't just survive. We won." The battle wasn't over yet, but everyone knew. This was the moment everything changed. Humanity had proven itself to be far more dangerous than the Council ever imagined. In the grand meeting chamber of the Galactic Council's flagship, dozens of alien leaders watched the battle screens in complete silence. Their faces showed a mix of shock, fear, and disbelief. "Impossible," one council member whispered. "They were supposed to be primitives." The screens showed the damaged but still fighting U.S. Prometheus, surrounded by the burning wreckage of what had been the Council's finest ships. Earth's fleet continued to chase the retreating Council vessels, using Lieutenant Rodriguez's unpredictable attack patterns. Zexstar stood before the Council, his blue skin now pale with fear. We must send more ships. We can still overwhelm them with numbers." The oldest council member, Carol, slowly shook his head. "No, look at the data again. Look at what they did with primitive technology and limited resources." The screens replayed the moment when Project Thunderbolt fired. The council members flinched as they watched their invincible ships vanish in the energy beam. On the Prometheus, Captain Lisa Matthews was organizing repairs despite the heavy damage. Emergency teams worked to put out fires while engineers tried to restore power to critical systems. "Status report," she called out, wiping smoke from her eyes. "Main power is dead," Stephen Cooper reported from engineering, "running on emergency batteries. But Captain, you need to see this." Dr. Emily Foster's voice joined in. The energy from Project Thunderbolt didn't just damage their ships. It changed something in their technology. Their remaining ships can't form stable shields anymore. Lisa's eyes widened. "Send that data to all Earth ships immediately." The news spread quickly through the fleet. Earth ships began targeting the weakened Council vessels with regular weapons, which now cut through their failing shields easily. Admiral Hayes' voice came over the command channel. "All ships, press the advantage. Don't let them regroup." Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez coordinated the attack from the Prometheus's damaged tactical station. "Earth fleet reporting success across all sectors, Captain. The Council ships can't adapt to our attack patterns." Back in the Council chamber, the alien leaders argued furiously. "We should have wiped them out centuries ago," one shouted. "No," Carl said firmly. "We should have listened to those who said to welcome them as equals. Look at what they achieved when threatened. Imagine what they could have done as allies." A junior officer rushed into the chamber. "Leaders, the human ships, they're targeting our command ships now. Our shields are failing." On the main screen, they watched as Earth's fleet surrounded their remaining vessels. The Prometheus, despite its damage, maintained its position at the front of the attack. "This is Captain Lisa Matthews to all Council ships." Her voice came through their speakers. "Your shields are down. Your ships are damaged. Surrender now, or we will be forced to continue firing." In the Council chamber, panic spread. These humans, whom they had dismissed as primitive and violent, had done the impossible. They had taken the Council's best technology and turned it against them. "We must sue for peace," Carl announced, rising from his seat, "before they decide to show us just how creative they can be with the rest of our technology." Zextar stared at the screens in horror. But they're savages. Primitives. No, Carl corrected him. They are survivors. And we just discovered why. The council members watched as more of their ships surrendered. The mighty fleet that had come to Earth expecting an easy victory was now reduced to floating wreckage and desperate survivors. On the Prometheus, Lisa received the council's message. Captain, Ben Wilson called from his station. They're asking for terms of surrender. The bridge crew fell silent. After all the years of alien interference, all the setbacks, all the hidden attacks on human progress, this moment felt almost unreal. Tell Admiral Hayes we'll hold position, Lisa ordered, and send word to Earth. Tell them. She smiled, looking at her brave crew. Tell them that humanity just earned its place among the stars. As the message was sent, Lisa looked out at the stars through her cracked view screen. The council had called humans primitive and violent. Perhaps they were right about the violent part, but they had missed something important. Humans didn't fight because they wanted to. They fought because they had to. And when they did, they'd fought to win. The Council's horror at this discovery would change the galaxy forever. 1 week after the battle, the U.S. Prometheus floated in high Earth orbit, its battle scars still visible but its systems mostly restored. Inside the ship's main conference room, Captain Lisa Matthews sat at a long table, facing the Council's representatives. Carol, the eldest Council member, spoke first. We have reviewed the terms of Earth's proposed treaty. Lisa kept her face neutral, though inside she felt proud. Earth's nations had stayed united even after the victory, presenting one voice to the galaxy. Next to her sat Admiral Hayes and Dr. Emily Foster, while Lieutenant Maria Rodriguez and Chief Engineer Stephen Cooper watched from nearby stations. And your response? Admiral Hayes asked. Carol placed a glowing crystal on the table. We accept. The Council acknowledges Earth as a sovereign power, with all rights to defend its space and develop its technology without interference. All of our technology, Stephen added firmly. He still wore bandages from the burns he'd received during the battle. Yes, Carol agreed, looking uncomfortable. We will also share our database of all previous interventions in Earth's development. You deserve to know the full truth. Dr. Foster leaned forward. And the technology sharing agreement. Approved. Though after seeing what you did with Project Thunderbolt, perhaps we should be asking you to share technology with us. Carell's attempt at humor drew small smiles from the humans. Lisa looked at the treaty displayed on her tablet. The terms were better than anyone had hoped for. Earth would keep its independence, gain access to galactic technology, and receive a formal apology from the Council for centuries of interference. There's one more thing, Admiral Hayes said. Earth wants a seat on the Council. The alien representatives stirred uneasily, but Carol raised his hand for silence. Granted. After what we witnessed, denying humans a voice in galactic affairs would be unwise. As they signed the treaty, Lisa thought about how much had changed in just 1 week. The Prometheus's desperate gamble with Project Thunderbolt hadn't just saved Earth. It had forced the entire galaxy to recognize humanity's potential. Captain Matthews, Carl said suddenly, may I ask you something? Lisa nodded. Your ship was badly damaged. Your weapon was untested. You had no way of knowing if it would work. Why did you take such a risk? The room fell quiet. Lisa looked at her crew members before answering. Because that's what humans do, she said simply. When you threaten us, when you back us into a corner, we don't give up. We try the impossible. Sometimes we fail. But sometimes, she gestured at the treaty, sometimes we change everything. After the Council members left, Earth's representatives gathered on the Prometheus's observation deck. Through the massive windows, they could see their home planet, now surrounded by a mix of Earth and Council ships working together to clear the battle debris. Hard to believe it's really over, Maria said, watching a Council repair ship help fix a damaged Earth destroyer. It's not over, Emily replied. It's just beginning. Think of all we can learn now. all we can achieve." Stephen nodded, checking readings on his tablet. "The Council engineers are already asking about Project Thunderbolt. They can't figure out how we managed to build it with our primitive technology." Speaking of technology, Admiral Hayes turned to Lisa. "The President wants the Prometheus to lead Earth's first official mission to Council space. A gesture of peace, but also a reminder of what we can do if threatened again." Lisa smiled. "The crew will be happy to hear that. Though we should probably fix the hull first." They all laughed, releasing the tension of the past week. Below them, Earth continued its spin through space, now recognized as home to one of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. "You know what the funny thing is?" Lisa said quietly. "The Council thought they were protecting the galaxy from us. They never realized that by trying to keep us down, they were forcing us to become exactly what they feared." "No," Admiral Hayes corrected. "We became something better. We proved we could fight when needed, but also make peace when offered. That's what they never understood about humans. We're not just survivors or warriors. We're explorers, inventors, dreamers." As if to emphasize his point, the Prometheus's engines hummed to life, preparing for its next mission. The ship that had changed the galaxy would now help shape its future. The Council had wanted to cage humanity. Instead, they had freed them to reach for the stars. And this was only the beginning.